Majora's Mask gave us one of the best side quests in all of gaming, that of separated lovers Kafei and Anju racing against the impending apocalypse to reunite. As we enter the world of Termina, we learn the game is set amidst preparations for the Carnival of Time, a festival where the Terminan races unite to celebrate a bountiful crop for the year to come. Because this festival is such a momentous occasion for Termina and its inhabitants, a lot of important events such as marriages coincide with this day. But this year, it's a day that may not come. Leaving the bottom of the clock tower for the first time, we see a giant moon looming overhead, and we come to learn that its presence is not incidental, and that, after 3 days, that moon will crush Termina and everything living in it. As the player first takes control of the camera, a purple-haired boy wearing a mask can immediately be seen walking down a flight of stairs and checking a postbox. This is curious, but we set out to explore Clocktown for the first time. It isn't long after talking to a few of the townsfolk before we learn that Anju, the keeper at the Stockpot Inn, is missing her fiancé, Kafei. This is echoed once we meet Kafei's mother, Madame Aroma. And we're given a mask in Kafei's likeness to aid in our questioning around town. If we wear the mask and speak to Clocktown's numerous residents, we'll receive different types of responses, all with varying degrees of emotion and truth. And even though, as the player, we cannot hear tone, it's obvious that some answers are more loaded than others. So, let's explore them. The swordsman in West Clocktown says, "I do not know that child," and there's nothing in that answer to make us believe otherwise. The shooting gallery guy in East Clocktown says he hasn't come here, and the treasure shop girl across the plaza says basically the same thing. Now that you mention it, I haven't seen him lately, but these are the most superficial answers we receive. If we ask the postman, he says, "I don't know where he is. Even if I knew, it would be a secret," which is our first inkling that the townsfolk know more than they're letting on, and something's being hidden from us. When we ask the purple-haired Mayor Dotor, Kafei's father, he gives a more direct answer, telling us to ask the curiosity shop owner, but that it's a secret. Finally, a lead into his whereabouts. But if you leave the mayor's office without removing the mask and talk to the receptionist, she gives us an answer that alludes to more going on in his personal relationships. Doesn't Kafei want to break off his engagement to Anju? Why not let him? That's what he wants. Is he escaping from a marriage he no longer wants? Is he being forced into it? Or has Kafei found somebody else? The curiosity shop is in West Clocktown, which is on the opposite side of the map from the mayor's office, so we may as well continue asking around as we head there. Let's stop by South Clocktown, where we initially saw the boy with matching hair to Mayor Dotor. As we head down the stairs from East Clocktown to South, a carpenter to the right doesn't seem too busy, and the perfect person who may be able to give us some information on Kafei. But in response to the mask, we're met with a threat. Don't be interfering with my dear Anju. You afraid of my fists? Don't go finding Kafei. It's obvious from most of these answers that there are secrets being kept from us, with some, just like this one, sounding like they don't even want Kafei found. Now, what the carpenter says to Link is a really odd thing to say to an 11-year-old, but his response does give us a few pieces of information. 1, that Kafei may be nearby, and 2, this guy's got a crush on Kafei's fiancée, Anju, another curious development to the relationship. The curiosity shop finally opens at 10 PM, and we enter to ask the owner as instructed by Mayor Dotor, but we are promptly and cryptically dismissed. You're searching for Kafei with this mask. Doesn't really look a thing like him, but then again, I guess it does. Hey, I want you to leave now. These responses get weirder and weirder, like this guy has clearly seen and knows Kafei, so why can't we get a clear answer? The next day, we head back to the Stockpot Inn to let Anju in on what we've learned, but she's absent. Instead, an older woman, Anju's mother, attends the desk, who apparently just hates Kafei, scolding us for even wearing his mask. What gives? This is the man that loves your daughter. Another confusing response that we need to get to the bottom of. Aside from speaking to Anju's mother, there may be more information to be gathered at the Stockpot Inn upon our revisit. If we acquired the room key on the first day, we have access to the knife chamber, which is the second room to the right upstairs, and the sound treatment there isn't great. If we interact with the crack in the wall between 9:30 PM and midnight later that day, we overhear Anju and her mother having a conversation about what to do next. But the tail part of that conversation is the most interesting, and gives us our first bit of insight into this video's topic and the reason why Anju's mother is so disgruntled toward Kafei. Listening in, Anju's mother says that they will be leaving for Romani Ranch on the following evening, saying that the owner and Anju's best friend Cremia will take them in, to which Anju can only wonder one thing. Is Kafei there? Anju's mother says that if he is, she'll be giving him a smack, and tries to give reason to Anju why he would be there, saying that Cremia needs strength from a partner and business support from Madame Aroma, a known affiliate of the milk bar Cremia sells to and many of Clocktown's business enterprises. If Kafei really has run off with Cremia, she'll get both. Please, don't be sad. How happy could you possibly be marrying a man who runs off when he's about to be married? It would make your life unhappy, just like your mother's. Now before we continue, I'd like to take a second to explore that last sentence, because it breaks open a lot of the information we as a player learn in the game and gives way to another scandal within Anju's family. And also a second to say that if you're enjoying the video and are interested in more Nintendo content like this, subscribing is the best way you can keep up. I worked really hard on this video and have plenty more interesting topics to come in the future, which I'd love to have you here for. Thank you in advance. When asking around town and interacting with its people, you'll come across a gnarly old granny with spiked wheels in the first room of the Stockpot Inn. If we visit her on the second day, Anju enters the room to bring her lunch, to which this woman, who we learn is Anju's grandmother, says she's already eaten. She also calls Anju the name Tortoise, who we actually learn is Anju's late father and granny's son, hinting at the woman's senility through evident perception and memory problems. Anju responds in turn saying that she hasn't eaten, further reinforcing her memory issue, but Anju gets scolded for insisting that she eat. When she gives up, Anju's grandmother lets out a peculiar sigh of relief. If Link wears Kafei's mask and talks to her, he will be mistaken for Dotor, Kafei's father who she once taught as a child. Link, sans mask, like Anju, will also be called Tortoise, her son. But it's upon further inspection into Granny's room that we learn that she, like many of Clocktown's residents, is hiding something. If we read the diary on her desk on the first day, it says, "It was my granddaughter who cooked again today. Putting that to the lips shortens the life. I thought of a way to get by without eating. I'll try it tomorrow, I just hope I'm not caught." The scheme written here, and that we witness the next day, is her faking her senility to get out of eating Anju's cooking. On the third day, the veil over her mental state is truly removed, as we read about her awareness of the disaster in the world around her in her diary, and recognises they may not return home after leaving for the ranch. This is all relevant in linking back to Tortoise, Anju's father and Granny's son, who Anju says has died. But a terrible secret has been kept from her and her grandmother, who both presume he's dead. When we speak to Anju's mother later at the ranch, she says she blames herself for Anju's naivety in Kafei returning by saying that she too was naive in thinking her husband would return. This dialogue adds on to the quote we broke off from before. "Please, don't be sad. How happy could you possibly be marrying a man who runs off when he's about to be married? It would make your life unhappy, just like your mother's." These two instances put together tell us that Anju's mother isn't telling her family the whole story, and that Tortoise, instead of dying, has actually run off. Perhaps with another woman, which would explain why she was so angry at an alleged adulterer, Kafei. But it's time we explore this accusation of adultery and where it even comes from. When we first get to Romani Ranch, we meet Romani. Contrary to the name, she's not the boss, because some of her dialogue reveals she was actually named after the ranch. It's her dialogue here that the Cremia side of the story starts to form. Romani knows my sister, Cremia, has someone in town that she likes. But that person is supposed to get married the day of the carnival. It's hard for my sister, going into town. It was because of this known crush that gossip started to form in Clocktown that Kafei had run away to be with Cremia. But if we talk to Cremia with his mask on, she hits us with an accusation. "Ah, you. Did some middle-aged woman put you to work? Kafei isn't here," bearing a cold expression as if displeased. This could be for a few reasons. She's annoyed that she keeps getting asked about Kafei because of the gossip of their affair, or that she's sad at the mention of his name. The only evidence we have of Cremia and why she developed this crush is found in their house at Romani Ranch on the 3DS version, where we can see a very vague and barely discernible picture of what can be assumed as the trio of Kafei, Cremia and Anju as children, shown by their height. If we speak to Cremia with the couple's mask on, the mask we ironically get for completing the Kafei and Anju side quest, Cremia says, "The couple's mask, someone got married. My friend is going to be married soon. Too soon." Now, there was some community debate on this translation because there is no inflection or tonality in her voice to read. Does she say, "My friend is going to be married soon, too?" Or married soon, too soon? While these are obviously the same words, they mean drastically different things when said like that. Like, is she just saying she has a friend that is getting married soon? Or is she saying she has a friend that is getting married too soon? This would allude to her not having enough time with Kafei. This is open-ended and has never been clarified by Nintendo, but I would love to get your opinions in the comments below. And speaking of community debate, there was even a relatively reinforced theory that Cremia actually had a crush on Anju and not Kafei. So let's explore the evidence. Firstly, the game never mentions the gender of the person that Cremia has a crush on. They're always referenced to as, quote, her friend. And secondly, in the beta version of the game, when questioned with the Kafei mask on, Cremia actually responds saying, "Did my aunt put you to work?" Which was obviously changed in the final version to say what it says now. But that means that at one point Kafei could have been intended to not be a love interest of Cremia because he had familial connection. This would make Cremia and Kafei actually cousins, meaning that for them to have a relationship would be very taboo, especially for a game developed in the early 2000s. But it's that same reason that also goes against Cremia and Anju having a relationship, as Japan was extremely conservative around the time of development. I did find some clarification on the word aunt here as well. In English, aunt obviously means the sister of your mother, but stemming from its Japanese origin, the word for aunt can sort of be used colloquially to also mean middle-aged lady, so it was probably a mistranslation to the beta English version. But even if this wasn't a mistranslation, it was disproven by the Hyrule Encyclopedia that has this line on the character map going from Cremia to Kafei that says Secret Crush. Then, as we see in the final scenes of the game after stopping Majora, Anju and Kafei's wedding proceeds. Sadly, we have official confirmation from co-director Yoshiaki Koizumi that it is unknown if the curse is broken and Kafei returns to his former self. Nintendo would rather leave it open-ended and to the player's imagination. But in my opinion, given Kafei's height being at Anju's eye level in the perspective shot at their wedding, I'd like to think it did. It also wouldn't really make much sense for the curse to persist after Majora had been defeated either. Furthermore, this sketch of Kafei from the Hyrule Encyclopedia that unfortunately never makes it into the game depicts him as an adult, appearing at around the same height as Anju is, insinuating that there was a time where Nintendo was conceptualizing his appearance as an adult in the game, but given its 1-year development crunch, they probably ran out of time to fully realize it and make his assets separately. There is also a section of the non-canon Majora's Mask manga by Akira Himekawa where Kafei is seen standing in front of Anju at around adult height at their wedding, so interpret that how you wish. The evidence points more for his curse being broken than against though. Although there's a lot of layers to this side quest and even to this love triangle upon further examination, we do learn that the affection is only one-sided, and Kafei, while being proven faithful when we find him in the back room of the curiosity shop and not at the ranch with Cremia, also only has eyes for Anju. His diary in the back room of the mayor's office, accompanied by a photo of Anju, confirms this. The wedding ceremony is soon. It might be early, but I finished my wedding mask. I wonder if Anju made hers. She tends to do things at the last minute, so probably not. There is a gathering of the fellows at the milk bar tonight. I plan to show off my wedding mask and talk about my sweetheart as best I can. There is also further information in the 3DS version that details how he got into his situation in the first place. Quote, "I was turned into this by a strange imp wearing a mask, but I'm not hiding because I look this way. When I was turned into this, I went to see the Great Fairy at her shrine near the North Gate, but on my way there, a man hanging around the gate, a prancing man in a white shirt, he stole my precious wedding ceremony mask." When I started researching for this video on my favourite game, I was overwhelmed with the amount of subtle depth and detail that this side narrative contained. Even 25 years on, I'm still learning things about Nintendo's rushed masterpiece. But what do you think? And I also want to know, are you Team Cremia or Team Anju? As a little addition, in my research I did come across an interesting answer to this exact question from actual Majora's Mask staff. Cutscene programmer Naoki Mori chooses Cremia. Personally, I think Cremia, who hides her loneliness by smiling, is a better woman than Anju, who lets her unhappiness bubble up to the surface. And without bias, I also choose Cremia. I find it highly respectable that she continues to try her best to provide for her little sister following the untimely death of their father and subsequent inheritance of the ranch, given that she can barely be over the age bracket of 17 to 23. And with the ranch comes heavy expectation. Chateau Romani is a prestigious product and one that she must try to maintain in the wake of her father's passing. That alongside the alien attack, roadblock affecting her business, pressure from Gorman Brothers and gossip about her around town, Cremia is truly a great addition to the Majora's Mask universe that they very well could have just let be a Romani clone. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.